So, I would like to invite you to talk with Rafał Jimidok, Polish performer and choreographer and dancer, and Daniel AlmgrenRecén.
Very close, very close.
Swedish choreographer currently based in Warsaw, somehow.
Somehow, yes.
Somehow. My first question is to Daniel. Dance Rafał is a part of a larger cycle with dance and names of dancers in brackets. Could you say something more about that cycle?
Yeah, we are. I did it with one other performer before, so or actually 1.5 before. So this is the second full, let's say, work process with it, and it's. I'm trying to base it on, we actually use exactly the same tasks for both of them. But then these tasks are, of course, filtered through them and their input and physicality and habits and good things, and sort of takes it somewhere else.
Are these tasks rather choreographical, based in movement, or rather in theatrical or performance situation?
It's very practical, actually. It's not abstract at all. It's very concrete things.
Could you give just one example?
One example is working with the sternum or working out from the sternum. Another one is move the space. Third one is which one? Okay, but it's in that sense extremely
basics.
Yeah, very simple and very banal almost. But it takes a while to get hold of what you are doing actually, or to make something concrete out of it also.
And when you have material developed that way, you process it further, or okay? So Rafał, how much Rafał in Dance Rafał?
Of course, I'm there, and it's me, and it's my body, and all that. But I think it's I wouldn't make a piece like this. So it's a lot of, like, technically speaking, it's me, but a lot of what I do is I do it just because he told me or asked me to do this or thought it was worth doing. So, not all.
Because I had an impression that you are somehow playing with your stage image, which would be maybe more understandable in Polish context. The publicity knows you better. Is it self-ironic somehow? No?
Not to me. I'm as it was said here before, I'm going through a very specific and very precise score, and for me it's very serious, and if about anything, it's about surviving. So if it comes out ironic, I frankly don't care. I don't know. I'm doing a very specific thing there, and it requires everything I know about performing to do it. So I don't even know how it looks like. Sorry, that doesn't answer your question.
How long took the process?
2 weeks? Was that 2 weeks? Honestly.
I mean, we had the first working period of approximately 2 weeks actually more or less 1 year ago. Then we showed 2 times, and then we had 1 year of break, and now we again worked almost 2 weeks. So it's been quite a fast working process for me, and I mean, in one way it's not so complicated, since there is a blueprint for the performance. Of course, it needs to be translated, and we need to agree on language and understanding of what we're actually working on. And also, since I'm giving feedback on things that he doesn't know what he's doing, but he's working on the task. And for me, the interesting thing is that through him working on the task, he sort of emerges from the actual doing the task, and something else appears, and this sort of surplus out of the task is interesting for me. And there is for me where I can name it Rafał instead of someone else, because no one else will do it in this way, let's say.
So the score is very precise, but on the other hand, the piece is somehow changing. Yeah? Especially I think if you have a 1 year break.
It's actually beneficial to have 1 year break.
Yeah, it's good to bring it back after the end.
Yeah, definitely. I recommend.
Me too.
Every choreographer make a 1 year break after premiere.
Yeah, just apply for like 2-year projects. 1 year and then another year.
1 year break. Okay, maybe you have any question for now? Any questions? Okay.
Maybe more a comment or reflection than a question. I want to thank you. I think it's an amazing introduction into yourself as a dancer that you present on stage. It's really 30, 40, however many minutes of constantly introducing and reintroducing yourself in terms of range, technique, playfulness, rhythm, use of space. It was really very interesting experience. And by curiosity perhaps, but I want to mention it, I come from Zagreb, Croatia, and I will mispronounce it, but in Croatian, Rafał is the sound and way of a machine gun going off. And it was unavoidable seeing it, the word there in the background, and I felt it was like a dance machine gun going off and not stopping for the whole duration. I really enjoyed the performance. Thank you.
That is so nice. Thank you so much, if I may say so. And I like being the gun going off.
Another questions, comments, opinions?
I really love the piece. I thought it was fantastic. I mean, it was completely taken from the beginning to the end. But I'm completely confused because I thought it was the opposite to what you just explained. Because I thought it was a very, very personal piece. So I didn't even know that it was a choreographer or that was a score. I thought it was completely personal. So I was amazed. That is how I followed the whole piece, thinking, what a personal piece is there. It's just completely there. So I'm a bit confused now when you say that everything, that it was in a way is described as a score that you did and you told the tasks. Because for me it was very, very emotional, I felt very emotional, connected to the piece.
I mean, in the movies they already die, So it's the same sort of thing.
maybe a comment on that is that I see my role in the whole thing as a more facilitator and in one or the other way coach, where I'm sort of trying to give input and then see what comes out and then feedback it back there, and of course there is some kind of decision making of what direction we are going, but still all the time trying to find where actually Rafał comes out or comes to a place where he finds something to work on, which is not just a shape or not just a choreography in terms of set, but he sort of needs to engage in himself in it.
It's very interesting that you used this technical somehow metaphor of input, putting input like in programming language or computer and getting results, and it's also very interesting that if you have to perform any tasks in your way, you do it not at all, but mostly, or at least at part, very mechanical.
I am forbidden to do things mechanically. It's a clear don't, so I always have to. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but there could be a little confusion about it. Now Daniel's a little bit like, yeah, I'm a coach, blah, 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 but it's not like that. I mean, it is his piece. I just have the comfort not to, I don't have to understand what he sees in that, and I don't have to understand what he sees in me. It's just enough that, you know, he, like we talked about this a lot when we actually quarreled about it, he invests in contact with me, and then I invest in contact with him, and that's probably the result. And you know, and it's like the division of labor is very strict. Like, I do, he talks, and then I talk, but then like you know, am I lying? I mean, it's not true.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
So it's not like, you know, facilitator. It's like it's his creation. I'm really, I have this rare comfort to be a material, and so it happens that in his vision, the material is an actor, and the material is a person, and the material is, you know. But if, you know, but it's not. It's Daniel's decision that it's like this. And I don't really work often with, like, I think it's a very comfortable situation to be in somebody's hands.
And on the other hand, it's very radical perspective, impressively radical, because you are talking about something totally opposite to most part of the discourse of contemporary dance, which is about mutual understanding, collaboration, and so on. So
maybe it's your turn now.
Was that a question?
No, it was my impression.
Yeah, I'm interested. What is then your motivation? No, not personal, like I do it because whatever the reason, but what do you find in the scores interesting, or how do you motivate yourself? Or what? Yeah.
It's nice to, first of all, it pushes me to places where I wouldn't have gone, and the places that I wouldn't have seen. Because I don't know. I mean, I don't know. So this is a huge motivation to go where you haven't been, or to go somewhere that you've been for just 5 minutes, to spend there 4 hours. You know, it changes you, it pushes you, it makes you grow, and it's a huge motivation. And secondly, I don't know. At the end of the day, I like doing it. It's an extreme experience which is okay. So I think that's plenty of motivation.
Could you
And also money.
Could you compare the process of doing it, not the process of creating it, but when you go through it or when you do it with anything else? I mean, or if
You mean when I'm on stage or when we?
yeah, when you perform it and you go through it, the experience of doing it, what would you compare it to? Like, or what's the essence of the?
I don't know. It's a lot, see, because it changed. Because when we made it, it was a lot of this for me was about struggle, and it was like going to like a fucked up yoga class that you like wanna like finish but you can't, and it's lasting. But now it's not, because we found another way to like work about it. So it's no longer so extreme. It's much more. It's much more about patience. I don't know. I guess that's what comes to my head.
So it becomes a practice of, I don't know, patience or something like that, and not sports.
It becomes a practice of patience with yourself and a patience with life in a way. I mean, I don't want to sound like esoteric because I hate it, but it's like you have to exercise certain level of patience. And that, for me, that is the new extreme, because that's not my feature. So I have to really find it each time. Patience, it's not what I am.
Can I just
Okay.
have a question for you? Have you ever done it yourself? If you've ever done this yourself?
Myself?
Yeah.
No.
Can I ask something? Yeah. I'm fascinated by your reaction after the performance, because I work a lot like this. I have a pleasure improvisation group in Berlin, and we always work on pleasure. And your body was filled with pleasure for me, and I could feel that. And it's always like about notice and follow. And you're sitting here now, you talk about struggle. And I was like, that's something, of course it's a struggle to go on stage, but it's like this pleasure you had. I feel like, wow, that's you just notice and follow your impulses. And I didn't see any scores either, you know? I gave a shit on scores. You know what I mean? I've seen a man who had pleasure. And this is like, for me in this society, like putting it out of this fucking theater context to like our context. I see a man who has pleasure. That's all I see, and I'm thankful for that. So that you struggled that's very amazing for me. Of course it's a struggle process, but you really knows what is there and you follow it.
Pleasure is a task that I'm supposed to.
Is that the task?
Yes.
Not really.
No, it's something we've been working towards.
Exactly.
That actually the struggle can also give energy to continue. But yeah, it's always been a struggle. But I mean, my hope is that if we're continuing working on it and do it more time, that it also becomes more and more something pleasurable.
Okay. I mean,
Like
performing is intoxicating, yeah? But I wouldn't call it pleasure. You know, pleasure is like you sit in a park, you know, or like pleasure it's like you walk a dog, and like performance is not pleasure. It's intoxicating. You work yourself up into this. You know, your body chemistry goes, your physiology changes. Like, you know, it's not pleasure. I mean, pleasure is something else for me. But if it comes out as pleasure, then great. But the certain level of lightness. I was given a note 5 minutes before the show about the lightness, wasn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a note. It's a task. So I go like, okay.
I think that was,
Me.
Okay. I see. It's a little like how you work together too. Like, I don't know how you work together. I don't care. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you very much, and see you tomorrow.